Hi students, Dr. Clymer here. I'm super excited that we made it through our first week together. There are only 7 to go. You're hanging in there just fine. That first week has a lot of extra little assignment type stuff like introducing yourself and doing both of those quizzes. So you're on the downhill slide now basically. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of review and talk about a few things that came up as I was grading and I was noticing patterns and things like that. So as much as possible, I like to give you some feedback on that stuff. So a few things. First of all, no matter what it is that I've graded, if I've asked you to write something, I pretty much always give you written feedback. So I'm going to jump over here. There's my Blackboard page over here. I'm going to jump over here into our geography class, and some of you are in section 1, some of you are in section 2, but the navigation is basically the same. I want to show you that when you go into your grade center, especially if you're on mobile, sometimes you are not going to see a lot of feedback that I give you unless you kind of dig for it. But your grade center actually gives you lots of information. I will always tell you what's going on when your score is especially if your score is deducted, but pretty much anytime I grade something, I'm going to say something to you. If you've done the work, you deserve engagement from your instructor. So when you go down here into Blackboard, you can go to your grade center. Your grade center is going to look a little bit different than mine, but if you click on the score, it should be a hot link. If you click on your score for any individual assignment, that should allow you to travel to that assignment and see the stuff I told you. If you can't see that feedback, please get in touch with me because you deserve to know the information that I give you. I always try to help you do better the next time, and that feedback is designed to do that. So if you're not seeing the notes I'm putting in your grade center, you're not getting the full benefit of the feedback that I'm trying to give you. So please check that out. So a handful of other things I wanted to tell you. There is an assignment guide for everything you're going to be asked to do except the reaction papers. I build those into the assignments themselves in the course documents folder. So I just finished grading all of the current events discussion boards. And the thing I noticed was, I think maybe some people just hadn't seen the assignment guide because they had done other creative and interesting things. And so I want you to know, go to course documents. And as you can see, my computer is really slow. So if you tell me your computer is slow, I'll believe you because, you know, sympathy. But if you come down here to the current events discussion board guidelines, I give you a complex and robust, detailed discussion of what every part of this assignment should do. But I noticed that was giving people some confusion. And since we're going to do 4 of those this semester, if you're not happy with your grade on this last one, I want to make sure that you do better on the next ones. So I'm just going to level with you and tell you what to do differently. And so this is sort of general. You may have made all these mistakes. You may have made none of these mistakes. But big picture, what I'm looking for with every single assignment you ever do in this class is I want to see you talk about geography. I want to see you show me that you have learned geography. The point of the current events discussion boards is to show me that you found some geography in the real world. So if you're doing this assignment and you found a news article and you summarize the news article and you summarize the news article again and you haven't talked about anything in your textbook, you haven't talked about geography. Why would that be worth geography points? In a reading class, sure, that would make sense. In a geography class, if you're not bringing the textbook into the things you're writing, you're doing it wrong. I don't tell you that to be mean to you. I tell you that so I don't have to be mean to you. So what I ask you to do are 4 things in those assignments. Give me a link. Everybody did a great job with the link. No complaints there, at least that I recall. Give me a summary, a brief 50-ish word summary of the article. Don't blow that off, okay? The summary is where you tell me the nuts and bolts of the article because that's the only time you should be telling me about the article directly. So get it out of your system. 50 words or so is enough, just the basic who, what, when, where, but get in the basic who, what, when, where stuff. Okay. Then you're going to introduce a thesis statement, and this is where I lost more of you than anywhere else. That thesis statement is where you say, this is the geography concept that I see at work here. So if I gave you an article about, say, feral camels in Australia, this would be a great place to talk about invasive species. It'd be a great place to talk about ecosystems. It would be a great place to talk about biodiversity hotspots. You can introduce whatever geography concept you see as relevant, but if that thesis statement isn't using a term from your book, a concept from your book, go back and rewrite it or choose a different article. If you can't think of a thesis statement that relates to that article, here's a question. Why'd you choose that article? Choose an article that you can relate. Look at headlines until something reminds you of something in your book, and then use that one. Talk about what it was from your book that it reminded you of, okay? So then in the essay, what you're going to do basically is prove that that thesis statement was true. When I say this article is actually about invasive species, now I go to my essay and say, this is why this is about invasive species. This is what an invasive species is. This is how an invasive species will affect an ecosystem. And this is how that's manifesting in this article. You're not summarizing the article in the essay. The essay is you and Dr. Hobbs, your textbook author, talking geography in that specific article situation. You found some geography in the real world, but your subject, your focus is the geography. Your subject and focus are not so much talking about the article again. And that really makes sense if you think about it, right? Because when you send me the link, that's because I'm going to click the link and I'm going to read the article. I like news. It's interesting. And I want to make sure that I understand what you're talking about. So I've already read the article. And then after I read the article, I read your summary of the article. Why in the name of heaven would you need to say more about the article? We've both read it. We've both read your summary of it. It's time to talk about something else. So make sure that that central focus is geography. And then the one other thing that I saw that some people caught right onto and some people didn't is when you do your response posts, first of all, you do have to do response posts. Excuse me. Respond to 2 of your classmates. You have to have 2 responses in order for your score to be optimal. And so those response posts are worth 30% of your grade. They also need to prove you read the book. Okay, still talking about geography. They are geography points. They're not nice person points. So first of all, please be nice. Be nice to each other. That's a given. That's basic professionalism. But in addition to being nice to each other, advance the geography conversation. So if you find yourself doing something in this class and you're like, how is this geography? Either figure out how it is geography, or if you can't figure out how it's geography, figure out how to do it differently, because everything in this class ultimately does come back to the subject matter. I am very focused in that regard. If you've had teachers in the past who aren't, I'm sorry for that. They wasted your time. I'm not going to do that to you. So focus on geography. It's extremely important. We're only together for 8 weeks. We have to have that tight focus. So there we go. That is the discussion boards, the current event discussion boards guidelines. I encourage you to go open this document and have a look at it. I give you word minimums. I give you suggestions. I give you structural advice. So if you didn't look at that document, look at it before you do the next one. I want to see scores go up in this project. So I gave everybody some individualized feedback that should help you with that. If you didn't get a perfect score, then you got some feedback to tell you how to get that perfect score. So let's work toward that, because I like seeing people get 100% when they give 100%. So there we go. That's that thing. I think the only other thing that I'm going to tell you is this week, what you are doing instead, if you go over here to the assignments folder, is in week 2, we have the chapter 3 quiz. And then we have a video here that I actually recorded a few weeks ago for a different class about population pyramids. Those confuse a lot of people. This information is mostly in your textbook, but the book doesn't really explain it real well. And when I had students just using the book, they drew a lot of incorrect conclusions. I use population pyramids a lot, so I encourage you to watch that video if you're concerned about them, because I do want to see you understand what's going on with those, and sometimes they can be a little confusing. And I say that based on having taught this class for a while. They confuse people. So they are confusing, but they're super useful if you understand them. So have a look at that if you feel like you need help there. And then the first reaction paper. There is a video. There is a place here for you to upload your reaction paper. Most important thing I can tell you is do what I said to do with the discussion board. Put geography in there.